Hey guys, welcome back to Pet Adventures again. It's MJ, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how to start a freshwater aquarium. I know that there's probably a lot of you guys who are completely clueless with aquariums, and I've had a lot of those customers come in also back in the day where people just wanted to start up a freshwater aquarium. It's not really something you can do just by going into the store and then coming out knowing everything. It takes time. You have to learn a lot of things. And I definitely wouldn't recommend doing that, just going to the store. Just do a lot of research here on the internet, do as much research as you can, and kind of think about what you want your tank to look like and if it's really going to be for you. Now, to start off, I always usually would suggest a 10-gallon tank for somebody who's starting out a freshwater aquarium. Freshwater is much easier than saltwater. I can go into that on another video, but freshwater is fairly easy as long as you get the hang of it, and I've had this aquarium for I think about a year, maybe a little bit under a year, but I think it's going to be about a year. So a 10-gallon tank is a basic size. That's what I currently have right now, and you also do need to cycle your tank. I'm not going to go into that because cycling a tank is just like a huge thing to go over, but basically it can take anywhere from 2 weeks to a full month depending, and usually to get it started what you do is, you get your tank, you don't put any fish in it, you get your filter going, and you basically feed your invisible fish. You put flake food in there to start the cycling. But like I said, I don't want to go too in detail with that. If you want to know more about cycling, I can make a separate video on that. Okay, so you have your 10-gallon tank. The next thing you'll need is a filter. I have a hang-on back fluval filter. This is probably the best you can get. I mean, there are of course a lot more that are great, but if you're going to the store, I would say that a fluval hang-on back filter is probably for you. It's a little on the pricey side, but most likely you're only going to be buying it once, to be honest. So, and after that, you're going to want to choose your substrate. You can do gravel to sand, stuff like that, because the kind of fish I have, it's perfectly fine if they have sand, and it would probably even be fine if they had gravel. All of them are way too small to be swallowing gravel. Usually it's just goldfish that can't handle gravel. And I mean, all the ornaments and the background, all that stuff is of course optional. I do have a little intake filter in there because I have that on the filter because I do have very, very small fish, especially the tetra, and I actually got one fish that got sucked up when I was starting my tank. So I highly, highly recommend always putting that on your filter. I believe it comes with the filter, and some people use it, some people don't, but you should always have it. And you can always buy these separately online too. I do recommend getting live plants when you're starting a freshwater aquarium, because what this actually helps is this is benefiting your tank way more than you could expect. It really helps suck up all the nitrates in your tank. So I highly, highly recommend going out and getting a plant that you really like, and hopefully it'll be hardy. My plants aren't doing great, but they still here and there will benefit my tank. So, and I just have some dwarf lily plants in there, and then I have some banana plants. Now, as for fish you want to get, it's really up to you. What I would suggest is going online and seeing small fish that can go together. That's kind of what I did. For the most part, all my fish get along. I have basically tetras, mollies, guppies, platies, koi cats in here, the corydoras. I also have some pletcos in here, but I wouldn't mind them. Don't get a pletco. We're just keeping the pletcos in my tank for now until they're big enough to go in my boyfriend's huge goldfish tank. So they're babies right now and they're small, so I can keep them and it's fine. They're totally peaceful fish, but they do get large. Usually all pletcos will get large. Some get bigger than others. I would never suggest getting a pletco for your first tank unless you plan on giving it a huge tank when it grows up, which is what we're doing. So, and for the most part, everyone gets along. The only thing I would recommend is keeping an eye on your tetra. Make sure the tank is well fed, because if tetras aren't fed enough, sometimes they'll tend to nip things. It's not really aggressive, they're just kind of fin nippers, so watch out for that. And basically all the fish I have in here won't get bigger than 3 inches. I also have a Hailstream Loach in here too. As for lighting, you can pretty much use anything you want. You can use an expensive light or some cheap lights that come with your tank. If you're really trying to get your plants to grow, I would recommend getting a light that serves for that purpose. Usually those can range from $50-something to $100, even for a 10-gallon tank. But that is if you're really trying to get plants in there growing. But the kind of lights I have are very cheap, and you know, they're not great or anything. Also, make sure that you have something to always check the temperature. We use a digital thermometer, and we use just a regular thermometer in there too. So keep in mind, you always do need to be checking the temperatures. My tank is around 82 degrees, depending. Right now, I don't know if you can see that, but right now it's around 79.8, which is also fine. And if you guys are wondering, I do have balloon mollies. Balloon mollies are actually my favorite fish in the entire world, other than betta fish. If I were to get a tank full of only one fish, it would have to be balloon mollies. The sad thing is, balloon mollies technically are bred in brackish water, which means that it's half fresh water and a little bit of salt water. And they sell them like that in the pet store, so I haven't always had great luck with keeping them. I've actually had Zebo and Weebo. Those are my balloon mollies right now. I've actually had Zebo and Weebo for quite a while now. I think it's at least been about a month, something like that, maybe. I one time had one named Oreo, and she lived a long time. But overall, I've never been able to keep them alive completely because they are just, unfortunately, not true freshwater mollies. Now, if you breed balloon mollies or regular mollies, doesn't matter, same thing. I mean, they just look different on the outside is all. If you do tend to breed them, you can actually get them to live in your water because they're used to your water. They're you know, not having any salt water in their life, not having any brackish water. So you'll be fine. But these are just from the common pet stores, so let's just hope they can live, but we'll see. Now, like I said, all decorations are pretty much up to you, so. And I just have a couple of things to help my fish hide and things like that. I do have bubblers in my tank. I do think it's in some ways necessary. It's just more aeration for the tank on top of a filter. So I would suggest definitely getting some bubblers. Now remember, when you get a tank, I really don't suggest just getting everything in one day. Well, you can get the tank and everything in one day, but hold off on the fish, please. I promise you, if you're starting a tank, then you're and then you get fish, it's not going to work out. All these products that you see in front of me right now can benefit your tank and really help, especially with plants. The one that is absolutely mandatory, no questions asked, is this one right here. This is Prime. It's a dechlorinator. It basically dechlorinates your water, which is exactly what I just said. It takes out all the chlorine, because if you use regular tap water and don't add anything to that water, I promise you, your fish will die. Fish don't like it, and it's basically toxic to them. So, yeah. There's always a few options. You can also use spring, stuff like that, spring water, but it's really a hassle when you can just use your tap water with some really good conditioner in here. I do have a 10-gallon, so what I do is I use one half a cap of Prime, and I'm good to go. When you change your water, when you do a water change, you just put the Prime in there while the water is already low and you took out most of the water. And yeah, and then you put the Prime in there, half a cap, and then you start adding your new water. Basically, the rest of everything you see here is just to help your plants out. I'm not going to go too in detail with that, but I thought I would just kind of show some really great products that you can use to help your aquarium. And this is just to clean the glass whenever you're doing a water change and stuff. One other very important thing that I almost forgot to mention is make sure that your tank is not in a bad area. Mine is just in the hall, but never put it in direct sunlight. So even if you think it might look nice, I would not prefer you to put your tank in like next to a window, so no direct sunlight. And I wouldn't say a garage either that much, because it can get quite hot in things like a garage. So things like your kitchen, your room, or the hallway, things like that are usually okay as long as there's no direct sunlight. And so just be very, very careful where you place your tank in the house. Maintenance on average with fish in general, even fish like this, for some beginners is a little too much. So if you don't like having to clean the tank once to twice a week, I would just tell you probably best not to be keeping fish. Not to discourage you, but if this really is a problem for you, it's best to just get something like a leopard gecko or something that doesn't require hardcore maintenance every single week. You know, like if you forget to change your leopard geckos, you know, if you forget to clean it for like a week, they'll be fine. Whereas fish, if you go weeks and weeks without cleaning their tank, they could possibly just die. So keep that in mind. As far as food, this is basically what I feed all my fish. Keep in mind, I do not feed all of this in one day. Do not do that. What I do is I feed the Spirulina 20, the flakes that you see right there, and this once every day or every other day depending on how my parameters look and I've tested my water. But usually it's fine, so I do that once a day. I usually do it at night because I have some nocturnal fish. And then the Rapashi and the bloodworms are done about twice a week. These are really, really great. I would say that the best one is Rapashi. So just keep in mind that these are some things you can feed your fish. Also, you guys, make sure that you test your water. This is very, very important. If you don't test your water, you will not know your parameters and how your water is actually doing. And you can't even cycle your tank without testing your water. In front of me, I have pH, JH, nitrate, and ammonia. So just make sure you test this. I would say twice to once a day, whatever you can do when you're starting a tank out. And if your nitrates and ammonia and everything looks really good in your tank, then you can decide to add a few fish. I'd say only add about 8 small fish. 8 small fish is pretty good. So keep that in mind. And no matter what you have in your tank or how clean you think it is very important to change the water twice to once every single week. Never let it go longer than that. I preferably change mine twice a week, and I also test it here and there. Even though my tank is clearly cycled, I like to always know what's up. Also, when you clean your sponges and filters out, make sure that you do it in the tank water and never rinse it under the tap. And you would clean that every time that you do a water change. Please leave a comment down below letting me know what animal you want to talk about next. Also, down in the comments, let me know if you got a freshwater aquarium after watching this. I think I've covered the basics for the most part, you guys. Please subscribe to my channel, donate to me here on YouTube, and I also have a Patreon site where you can donate to me there as well, and so you can help my channel grow. If you can't donate, you can always share my videos and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!